vision, which is I thought was bad vision.
2010's pretty darn good.
I thought it was bad, and I was embarrassed. And my uncle said, "What kind of vision did you get?" 1010.
You could see
2020.
You could see a fly on a wall from 200 feet with vision like that.
They call it eagle eyes. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I was embarrassed, and I never told anybody because it's personal information. They don't necessarily publish it.
Sure.
You just have to get. So I told everybody 2020, and then I went back and I looked at it, and they said 2010, and I found out what it meant.
And welcome back. I'm George Noory, along with Bill Warwick. Bill, was there any fear involved here with you when you saw this object?
No, shock. I mean, I think I started to tell you, I don't think I quite finished what I was saying. At the point that it was closest to me, which would have been basically perpendicular, and by just judging, I measured the distance to the street light. I have lasers in my business, so I have lasers that I measure it down to, an eighth of an inch at 100 feet.
Right.
This thing was about 150 feet away from me. I tried to shout out my friend's voice, who was 15 feet through a screen door and an old wooden door. I was standing on his porch, 3 steps up. And the first time I went to shout out, it was kind of a whimperish shout, because I was a little, freaked out.
You're in shock, yeah.
I really was in shock. And again, I don't know if this is a physiological effect, because I don't think I've ever been that scared. I've had crackheads play Russian roulette with me when I got jumped when I was 14, and even then I don't think it was the same kind of shock that this was. And I tried to shout his name, Tommy, the first time. It didn't really come out that much, so I took a deep breath, and I shouted Tommy again. And again, no sound came out. And then I took a really deep breath, and I'm a big guy, I'm a big boy. And I could feel my lungs contract. I think Ricardo Tristan, the MUFON guy, I think is the only guy I ever told him, and I asked him not to put it in the report. I actually don't know if it's in that, not the report that I have, but they have their own, notes. And no sound came out on the third try, and I could feel my voice box vibrating. And that was when it was closest to me. It was perpendicular. It was 90 degrees,
yeah.
and the bottom right-hand half of it, I don't know if you're on the webpage or not, and you can see what I'm talking about. But the bottom, the whole right side of the front leading edge of the craft was illuminated, the bottom right side and sort of the top right side, leading edge of this was illuminated by the street lights that were below it. And that was the point when I realized that this was not a B-2. This is not. I knew it wasn't a B-2, and I now knew it wasn't a Herring glider. And then it was just like, oh my God, literally. And again, you have to understand that people from Southie, we don't get flustered by stuff like this, and we don't really talk about stuff like this, and it's not, we're tough city kids, you know what I mean? So this kind of thing is not, whatever. It's not part of our programming, so to speak, okay? We're not prepared for stuff like this. This stuff happens out in, farms and alien abductions and all that stuff, It just
not with a city boy, right?
And not in the middle of Norfolk.
Yeah.
Take me out to, Blacksburg and, anal probe me or something. I don't know, but not in Norfolk, you know what I mean?
Did anybody else see this that night?
Well, there's absolutely, yes. There was a corroboration that was sent to Skywatch back when Bill Hamilton had Skywatch International. That was, apparently someone had read the report that I had made and made a report, email report to Skywatch International, which basically, and it's all on the website, so it's actually still there, you can check it, and said that he had to have been a military pilot. I'm assuming he's a military pilot because the only way that he could have followed this thing was as if he was in a helicopter. There's just no other way. And I didn't hear a helicopter, so he must have picked it up over the bay or something.
And you didn't hear anything from this object either? Or did you?
I wouldn't say that it was hearing. It was like a subsonic hum that you felt.
Like a vibration?
Yeah, like a real. If you've seen the opening part, or if you can remember the opening part to which Star Wars was it? The fourth one. where it's like, whoa, like that, like really deep, wah, 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 like that. I mean, it sounds stupid, but this is as close as I can get to it. But at the beginning of the Star Wars, I think it was the fourth one that came out, there's a scene where they've got that ship coming in, and it's almost exactly what it sounded like. Almost exactly what it sounded like. But the funny thing about it was like you felt it. I felt it. I didn't really necessarily hear it. And I think it's because, and this ties in with the whole loss of voice thing when it was really close to me, was that I think there was some kind of noise cancellation technology. Because all I could hear was, or feel, was that one, 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 one. And I think I told Ricardo or Tristan at the time that I thought at the time it sounded like, sort of like 18-wheelers on the highway in the distance. You're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, as it goes by you.
Yeah, and again, this could have been the effect of, in the beginning it had sort of a higher pitch and it comes closer and the pitch changes because it's closer to you, and then, the whole pitch thing,
I had asked you before the break about texture, if it was close enough where you could see, like, bolts or something. You know what? It was absolutely, and keep in mind, I have an engineering, like I said, I dropped out before I actually got my degree to start Warwick Industries, but I was very heavily involved in it, and so just because I didn't get my degree doesn't mean I didn't know what I was doing. And the materials that I was dealing with was called Genera, which is the highest dielectric constant of resistance of any material ever developed except for aerogel. By the way, sometimes real experience is better than a degree. Yeah. You know that? Thank you. Yes. And you learn that when you get that experience, and you look back on it and you go, okay. Not knocking college, but you know what? I would take a guy or a gal who has had a real life experience in the real world than somebody who is just trained to read books. Yeah. Anytime. And that's it's funny that you mentioned that, because that's why I want to do this conference, because all the information that I have on the Phoenix Light situation and how it's related to what happened to me in Norfolk, other than talking to the people that I've talked to over the past 6 months, which has been just incredible, is books. And until you go and meet these people face to face, you just don't know. But the texture of the craft was, and I'm basing this on my experience, it looked exactly like what I was actually almost about to do with General, which is to use a flame spread coating. In a flame spread coating, very simply what they do is they take a powder, and there's different ways to get it, electrostatic force, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a couple of different ways to do it. But you basically take a powder and you throw it in front of a flame. And I'm going to keep it as simple as that. And when that powder, and it could be a metallic powder or ceramic, the big thing now is the ceramic metal powders, which it's called plasma arc. And what it does is it creates like a patina. And you might have seen this on, I don't know, certain kinds of furniture where, I think you can even buy paint that makes it look like that. It's sort of like a textured patina. It's not a smooth steel aluminum surface. You know what I mean? So the surface of it was completely smooth, and the texture of it, which I could see, and this is why I think it sort of blended in so well with the night sky, is because it didn't really reflect. It sort of absorbed the light and kind of very softly reflected it. So it had some, though it may have been smooth, it also may have had... It had this sort of undulating patina to it. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's difficult to explain, but if you've ever seen a flame spread coating, it's exactly what it looks like. It looks like it had a flame spread ceramic metal coating. And it was black? No, it actually wasn't. It was probably more of a brownish, sort of brownish bluish color, dark brown bluish color, because the sky isn't exactly black, and this thing blended it so well with the sky. Did it look incredibly high-tech, Bill, as opposed to, here's an example. If you looked at the H.G. Wells Time Machine in the movie The Time Machine and then compared it to the DeLorean in Back to the Future,